just a little bit of tenderness. Talking about my girl.
He had just begun to reach his greatest heights when tragedy struck. A musical talent who was changing soul music forever, gone in an instant. Today, we remember the soul legend killed in a plane crash at 26. Otis Redding came from humble beginnings in Dawson, Georgia, a small town where life moved slowly and opportunities seemed distant. Born in 1941, he grew up in a musical household where gospel music filled the home. His family moved to Macon, Georgia, when he was a young boy, and it was there that his musical journey truly began. Macon would become central to his life and career, a place that shaped not just his talent, but his entire approach to music and performance.
My love is growing stronger.
As a teenager, Otis was influenced by the sounds he heard around him. He listened to gospel music in church, but he was also captivated by the rhythm and blues artists who were emerging in the early 1950s. Artists like Little Richard, who was also from Georgia, showed young Otis that a black entertainer could achieve real success and national recognition. The idea that someone from the South could rise to prominence wasn't just a dream. It was a tangible possibility. Otis began teaching himself to play instruments and developing his singing voice. He wasn't formally trained in the classical sense, but he had something that couldn't be taught, an instinctive understanding of rhythm and emotion. In his early teens, Otis performed in local bands and talent shows. He was winning competitions and impressing people in his community with a maturity and depth of feeling that seemed unusual for someone so young. His voice had a distinctive quality, deep, powerful, and capable of conveying genuine emotion. When he sang, people felt something. It wasn't just technical skill, it was authenticity. By the time he was a teenager, local musicians and promoters in Macon recognized that Otis had something special. He joined a band called the Upsetters, which gave him his first real experience performing in front of audiences beyond his immediate community. The trajectory of Otis Redding's career changed dramatically in 1960 when he met Pac-Man, a musician and entrepreneur who would become instrumental in launching his recording career. Pac-Man saw potential in young Otis and helped him get into the recording studio. This was a crucial moment because it moved Otis from performing live to actually creating recordings that could be heard beyond his local area. In 1960, at just 19 years old, Otis recorded his first single. It wasn't an immediate hit, but it was a beginning. It got his name on record and helped establish him as a recording artist, rather than just a live performer. Shortly after these early recordings, Otis caught the attention of Jim Stewart and Estelle Axton, the founders of Stax Records in Memphis, Tennessee. Stax would become one of the most important and influential record labels in soul and rhythm and blues history. The label had already established itself as a place where genuine soul music was being created and recorded. When Otis signed with Stax in 1962, he became part of something larger than himself, a community of musicians, producers, and engineers who were committed to creating authentic soul music. The label had already worked with artists like Rufus Thomas and Carla Thomas, and it was establishing itself as a headquarters for Southern soul music. Working with Stax meant access to some of the finest musicians in the country. The house band at Stax, Booker T and the MGs, was exceptional. They provided the musical foundation for many of Stax's recordings, and their musicianship elevated every artist they worked with. When Otis was recording with these musicians, he was surrounded by excellence. The combination of Otis's raw talent and emotional depth with the professional musicianship of the studio musicians created magic. The chemistry was immediate and undeniable. Otis Redding's early recordings for Stax didn't immediately set the charts on fire, but they established him as an artist to watch. His first few singles performed respectably, but didn't achieve massive national success. However, the record showcased his growing artistry and his ability to interpret songs with genuine emotion. Record labels and industry people were beginning to understand that Otis was developing into a serious artist. By 1964, things began to change. The single, "These Arms of Mine," was released, and it marked a significant moment in his career. The song showcased Otis's remarkable ability to convey vulnerability and emotion through his vocal performance. "These Arms of Mine" became Otis's first significant hit. It reached the charts and began establishing him as more than just a regional artist. The song was simple but powerful, featuring Otis's voice front and center, with the instrumental arrangement perfectly supporting his vocal delivery. The success of this single opened doors for him. Radio stations that hadn't been playing his records began adding them to their rotation. Concert promoters became interested in booking him for performances. Record stores ordered more of his records. The trajectory that had been building slowly suddenly accelerated. Following the success of These Arms of Mine, Otis continued to record and perform. Each new single showed his growing confidence as an artist and his expanding range. He was experimenting with different sounds and different types of songs, always looking for ways to challenge himself and grow as a performer. Some songs worked better than others commercially, but collectively they established Otis as a significant voice in soul music. He was recording regularly, performing frequently, and building a loyal fan base. By the mid-1960s, Otis Redding was becoming known as one of the most exciting soul singers in the country. The years 1965 through 1967 represented the apex of Otis Redding's artistic achievement and commercial success. During this period, he recorded some of his most enduring and beloved songs. His artistic vision was becoming clearer, his voice was more controlled and powerful than ever, and he had the backing of one of the best recording operations in the country. The combination of all these factors resulted in a series of recordings that showcased everything he had worked for and everything he was capable of achieving. During these years, Otis performed at major venues and festivals. He appeared on television programs that reached national audiences. He was touring constantly, bringing his music to people across the United States. His live performances became legendary. Otis had a way of connecting with audiences that was extraordinary. He would take a song and make it feel like he was singing directly to each person in the audience. His stage presence commanded attention. He moved with purpose and energy, conveying the emotion of the songs through his entire body, not just his voice. Audiences left his performances feeling like they had experienced something important and genuine. By 1966 and 1967, Otis Redding had become a major figure in American music. He was no longer just an emerging talent, he was an established artist with a significant following. Record companies wanted to work with him. Other artists wanted to collaborate with him. Concert promoters competed for the opportunity to book him. He was influencing other musicians and contributing to the evolution of soul music. His recordings were being covered by other artists. He was achieving the kind of success and recognition that validated all the years of hard work and dedication. One of the most significant performances of Otis Redding's career came at the Monterey Pop Festival in June 1967. This festival is often remembered as a turning point in rock music history, featuring some of the most important artists of the era. Otis performed in front of a large audience that included many people who had never experienced his music live before. His performance at Monterey Pop was one of the highlights of the festival. He brought an intensity and authenticity to his performance that stood out among the acts surrounding him. Many people in the audience that day were hearing Otis for the first time, and he made an impression that would last for years. The performance at Monterey Pop exposed Otis to a broader audience than he had previously reached. The festival was covered extensively in the media, and footage of performances was distributed through various channels. Young people who might not have been listening to soul radio stations discovered Otis through Monterey Pop. His performance demonstrated that soul music could captivate audiences that were primarily interested in rock music and other genres. It proved that authenticity and genuine emotion transcended genre boundaries. After Monterey Pop, Otis Redding was more prominent than ever. He was being discussed in music publications. Young audiences were becoming familiar with his work. Older audiences who had been following his career from the beginning were witnessing his ascendance to greater heights. In early December 1967, Otis Redding went into the studio in Memphis to record new material. These recording sessions produced some of his most powerful and enduring work. He was energized and confident, working with musicians and producers who understood his vision and knew how to help him achieve it. The sessions were productive and creative. Otis was exploring new musical territory while maintaining the authenticity that had defined his work from the beginning. He was growing as an artist and continuing to push himself to new heights. The recordings from these sessions showcased an artist at the top of his powers, an artist who was confident in his abilities and willing to take creative risks. One of the most significant recordings from these December 1967 sessions would become his final single and would achieve a level of success that had eluded him throughout his career. The song was beautifully arranged and featured Otis's vocal performance at its finest. He had recorded it as a demo first, and the demo was so powerful that it was decided the demo version would be used as the official recording. That's how compelling his performance was. The song captured something essential about Otis as an artist and as a person. It would become his most commercially successful recording, and the one that would define his legacy to many people who discovered him after his death. On December 10, 1967, Otis Redding boarded a small twin-engine airplane heading from Cleveland, Ohio to Madison, Wisconsin. He was scheduled to perform at a concert venue in Madison. The weather that day was poor, with low visibility and difficult flying conditions. The plane also carried Otis's backup band and several other people. Approximately 30 minutes after takeoff, in the early morning darkness, the plane encountered difficulties. The exact sequence of events in those final moments will never be fully known. But what is certain is that the pilot lost control of the aircraft. The plane went down in Lake Monona, near Madison, Wisconsin. The aircraft crashed into the cold water of the lake. The impact was catastrophic. Of the 9 people aboard the aircraft, 8 lost their lives in the crash. Only one survivor was pulled from the water alive. Otis Redding was among those who died. At just 26 years old, at the moment when his career was reaching its greatest heights, his life was cut short. It was a shock that reverberated through the music industry and beyond. The news hit people hard. An artist who was just coming into the full realization of his potential, who had so much more to give, was suddenly gone. The days and weeks following the plane crash were filled with mourning and reflection. Tributes poured in from fellow musicians, from fans, from people throughout the music industry who had known and worked with Otis. His funeral in Macon, Georgia, was attended by hundreds of people who came to pay their respects. People spoke about his character, his talent, his dedication to his craft, and his impact on everyone he had worked with. The loss was deeply felt across the music community and by fans around the world. What made the tragedy even more poignant was the timing. Otis had just recorded some of his most powerful work. That song from the December recording sessions, the one that had been recorded as a demo and kept in its demo form because it was so perfect, was released posthumously. It achieved unprecedented commercial success, becoming his only #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Millions of people who had never heard of Otis Redding during his lifetime discovered his music through this recording. It was bittersweet. The recognition and massive success coming only after he was gone. The song introduced his music to a whole new generation of listeners and became an enduring classic. In the years and decades following his death, Otis Redding's influence on music became increasingly clear. He had been a bridge between the gospel and blues traditions of the South and the contemporary soul music that was emerging in the 1960s. His approach to singing and performing influenced countless artists who came after him. Soul singers, rock singers, and artists across multiple genres have cited Otis as an influence on their work. His recordings continue to be discovered by new generations of listeners. Young people who were not even born when he died would eventually hear his music and be moved by it. Music historians and critics began to recognize the significance of what Otis had accomplished in his short career. Despite dying at 26, he had created a body of work that was substantial and significant. He had recorded multiple albums, dozens of singles, and performed hundreds of shows. He had influenced other artists and contributed meaningfully to the development of soul music. His recordings documented the evolution of his artistry over 5 years, showing how he had grown and developed as a performer and interpreter of songs. The legacy he left behind was remarkable for someone who had so little time. People who knew Otis Redding personally have spoken about his character and his personality. By all accounts, he was a dedicated professional who took his craft seriously. He was known for his work ethic and his commitment to excellence. He was also known for being kind and generous, someone who remembered the people who had helped him along the way. He remained connected to his roots in Macon, Georgia, even as his career took him to venues around the country and eventually to national prominence. He was humble despite his success, never forgetting where he came from or taking for granted the opportunities he had been given. Otis was also known for his courage as an artist. He was willing to record songs that pushed him in new directions. He was willing to perform in front of audiences that didn't initially know his music, like at Monterey Pop. He was willing to grow and evolve as an artist, rather than simply repeating a formula that had worked. This willingness to take risks and push boundaries contributed to his artistic development and to the quality of his recorded work. He died before he had the opportunity to fully explore where his artistry might have taken him. But what he did accomplish in his short time shows an artist of real substance and significance. Several recordings by Otis Redding became standards and continue to be performed and recorded by artists decades after his death. His songs have been covered by artists across multiple genres, from soul to rock to pop. Some recordings have been featured in films and television programs, introducing his music to people who might not otherwise have encountered it. His voice, captured on recordings made more than 50 years ago, still moves listeners today. The emotional authenticity and musical quality of his work have proven to be timeless. When people listen to his recordings now, they are listening to an artist at work, someone bringing his full emotional and technical abilities to bear on the songs he was performing. The fact that his most successful recording came after his death and introduced millions of people to his music is a peculiar twist of fate. A tragic circumstance became the mechanism through which his talent reached audiences, far larger than he might have reached had he lived. It's a strange irony that while he was alive, his music was respected and appreciated by a devoted audience. But it took his death and the release of that final recording to achieve the kind of massive commercial success that would define his place in popular music history. When people reflect on Otis Redding's life and career now, they often think about the what-ifs. What if the plane had landed safely that December morning? What would Otis have recorded in the years that followed? How would he have continued to evolve as an artist? Would he have moved into different musical territories? Would he have continued to influence other musicians and help shape the direction of soul and popular music? These questions cannot be answered, and that's part of what makes the tragedy so poignant. We're left with the work he did complete, and while that work is substantial and meaningful, we're acutely aware that it was incomplete. Yet what Otis did accomplish remains powerful and relevant. His recordings continue to be heard and appreciated. Young people continue to discover his music and be moved by it. Musicians continue to be influenced by his approach to performance and interpretation. The 6 years he spent as a recording and performing artist resulted in music that has endured far beyond his lifetime. In that short span of time, he made a real contribution to American music and to the broader cultural landscape. He demonstrated what an artist committed to authenticity and excellence could accomplish, even in a limited time frame. The soul legend, killed in a plane crash at 26, left a legacy that would outlast him by decades and continues to resonate with listeners today. The story of Otis Redding is a reminder of both the power of genuine artistic talent and the fragility of life. He came from humble beginnings and rose to become one of the most important voices in soul music, all within just a few years of recording and performing professionally. His tragic death at such a young age cut short what might have been a long and productive career, but it couldn't erase what he had already accomplished. His influence on music and on the artists who came after him has only grown with time. If you've enjoyed learning about this remarkable artist and his brief but impactful career, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories of music history and the legends who shaped our culture. Thank you for watching.